Hey, what's up? It's Jared with State of Tech, and I'm upgrading our streaming PC. Now, I know I just did a video on building this thing, but I've ran into some issues, and it really has to do with the amount of PCI lanes that I have available for all of the stuff that I've got going on here. Now, it's very limiting when you're running an i5 processor or even just that whole chipset because of the amount of lanes that are available. And I immediately made mistakes because I originally had installed a NVMe drive, which takes up 4 lanes. And then, of course, I've got a GPU, which I need, that's going to take up basically all the lanes anyways. And then I have these Elgato cards in here. Now, I don't necessarily need as many Elgato cards as I have in here, but I've ran into issues with the Elgato cards that came about after building this PC. Now, I had 2 of the HD60 Pro Elgato cards in here, and they didn't really play too nice together. Elgato says that you can run multiple cards. Of course, I spent time with them on the phone and through emails and read forums and all that stuff, and it was really mixed as to whether or not people were able to get 2 cards to work. There, at one point, was some beta drivers that were available that could be used, and then Elgato said that they included that in their most recent drivers, and so you didn't need the beta drivers anymore, but they weren't too sure about it. They wanted me to send in some system report or whatnot. They were mentioning maybe I was running out of lanes, but I think what I've got it down to is that their driver just doesn't really work too well with 2 of the same cards, because once I installed the 4K card, so I was running a 4K card and an HD60 Pro, I was able to get it to work. And then in some instances, I was actually able to get all 3 cards to work. And so I think it really is a driver problem. It's not necessarily a how many lanes are available issue. But I want to upgrade this PC because I want to also be able to do some video editing tutorials and stuff from it. And I've came to realize that I can do all of that from one PC instead of having to bring in my laptop or bring in another PC. Like, I can do that from one system, and I would much rather do that. So I'm going to actually be taking most of this apart. We're going to be putting Threadripper stuff in here. We're going to go all AMD, except for the GPU, I guess. I'm going to use the same GPU, but we're going to go with an Asus motherboard, Threadripper, not the high-end Threadripper, because I don't really want to spend that kind of money, but we're putting a Threadripper in here nonetheless, so we get the extra lanes. I don't have to worry about any issues there. We're still going to go with 32 gigs of RAM, but I have to put 4 sticks in there to go quad channel. In order to get some lanes back, I had went with a regular solid state. I am now going to go back to an NVMe drive, which is in here right now because I just got done recloning that drive. And we're going to air cool this. So we're going to speed up the video. I'm going to go through the entire process, and then I'll talk a little bit at the end again. So let's get started. All right, so we got the PC back up and running for our streaming setup, and I was able to do a little bit of testing with it over this weekend, and it runs a lot better. Now, there were issues that I was having before. I think I mentioned just with potentially not having enough lanes to support all of the cards that I put in there, as well as just not really having the performance to pull all of that off. So since I wanted to use the PC for a few different things, even doing some tutorials and stuff from, this setup's going to work way better, and I thought I'd share it just so that there'd be options for all of you to see out there. What I did do, and this was kind of recommended by James, and then of course many people have recommended this online, that I just reinstall Windows. When you go from Intel to AMD, I mean, initially I fired up the computer and it seemed to run fine, but just to prevent any issues with there being pre-existing drivers and stuff on there, I decided just to do a complete wipe and start over with a brand new installation of Windows, copy over all my settings for OBS and for the Stream Deck, and just kind of get all that stuff set back up. It took me about an extra hour to do, but I think in the long run it will pay off, just not having all that extra stuff on the drive doing nothing. So now everything runs smooth. Did some streaming over the weekend, and it's just great, really nice. I'm excited to actually do maybe a couple of tutorials on video editing and stuff like that. If you're interested in that kind of thing, whether it be photography or video editing, check out 2 links in the description below to a couple of other YouTube channels that I do some stuff for. You'll want to make sure to check those out. So thanks so much for checking out this video. If you have any questions about the build or how I was able to get things working, definitely ask them in the comment section below. Getting more than one Elgato card to work in a streaming machine can kind of be tricky depending on what you're trying to do. So feel free to ask any questions and click that subscribe button to be notified when we put out new videos. Thanks a lot, and hope to see you back here soon.